Welcome back to Forbidden Knowledge News. I'm your host, Chris Matthew. Today my guest is Tony Merkel. First, a couple of announcements. A great way to help support Forbidden Knowledge News is by downloading our episodes directly through Spreaker or our website. You can also get a Rokfin premium membership. You go to rokfin.com/FKN+. With that, you get access to all our premium content and all the premium content from every creator on Rokfin. You can get Forbidden Knowledge News 5 days a week on Rokfin, Rumble, and our website. The website is forbiddenknowledge.news. It's also the home of the Forbidden Knowledge Network, where we feature some incredible podcasts. Be sure to go check that out. All those links are right in the description. Today, I want to welcome back to the show Tony Merkel. He is host of the Confessionals podcast, where witnesses of the unexplained come forward to share their experiences with the world. At first, his pursuit was focused on the phenomenon of Bigfoot, but he quickly began connecting dots with other topics such as ghosts, demons, alien abductions, and much more. Tony, welcome back. How you doing?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming back on. Always a fun time. We're close to Halloween, and what better guest to have on to discuss things like vampires, werewolves, witches, and occult rituals, and that's what I want to get into today. I know you probably have many stories we can discuss, including one in particular that I'd love to touch on about a vampire cult in the desert, and this is such a fun story that I've heard you tell before. Now, there's a lot we can try and get to based on what I just said, but before we do, for those who may not be familiar, remind the audience about yourself and let them know where they can find you.
Yeah, so Tony Merkel, I host the Confessionals podcast, but I'm trying to become more known for being the CEO of Merkel Media. We do films, documentaries, movies, podcasts, and so I'm a man that wears many hats, try to keep things moving as much as possible, and also try to be a dad and husband as well, the best I can. The Confessionals is a podcast where I interview people on their paranormal experiences, and that's what kind of got this whole thing started. We just started recording these people's stories, and it evolved into a full-time job, and then it evolved into making documentaries based on those locations that were on the show. And just the snowball keeps rolling and getting bigger and bigger. We have documented a journey called Expedition Dogman in Kentucky, where we hunted the Dogman for an entire week. We documented a journey that we called The Shape of Shadows, and those two journeys are now available on merkel.media. The Shape of Shadows is when we went out to the Skinwalker Ranch area. We stayed on the property that is called Space Wolf Research, and we spent a week out there bordering the property of Skinwalker Ranch and had some wild experiences. So yeah, those are the two documentary films that we come out with. We've already filmed one in Washington on Bigfoot. Wes Germer from Sasquatch Chronicles is a good friend of mine. And we went out there to document his experience with these creatures like a dozen years ago now. And while we were out there, we stumbled into a missing 411 situation. And there was a missing person out there that's still missing to this day. It's been pretty wild. So that documentary is in production right now. Actually, I should be getting a final cut the second cut coming by next week, I think. Lastly, we shot The Sasquatchologist, which is a movie, not a documentary. It's an actual movie with actors in it. And basically, nice. Yeah, that's actually out in Colorado. That's where we filmed it. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
The storyline basically is that Patty from the Patterson-Gimlin film, she and her offspring, at least her offspring, migrated east to the Colorado Rockies. And there's a biologist that was trying to document that migration and get proof of Bigfoot. And along his journey, he came across a kid who I can only feel like, so Joseph Granda is the lead actor. He wrote the movie. He's the head of my film and streaming development at Merkel Media. And I can only come to the conclusion that he wrote this kid based off of me, because he plays this scientific character, and then he has this kid that comes in who's like all woo-woo, and he's like, Bigfoot come out of portals. Everybody knows that. And I'm like, I think he was thinking about me when he wrote this. But it's about these two different polar opposite characters. They don't get along, and they come together throughout the movie to hunt Bigfoot. And it's a very story-driven movie. You start getting to learn about the characters, their past hurts, but it's also a hilarious movie. A lot of comedy. It's funny. You're not going to have Bigfoot biting people's heads off. It's definitely family-friendly. That's what we strive for at Merkel Media with the films we're producing, that you can put your kids in front of it. And I wouldn't say a 5-year-old should watch Expedition Dogman per se, but the idea is that you're not going to have a bunch of, orgies and stuff. So that's the goal. And then lastly, I would say to wrap up this self-promotion hour that I have going here, I just want to say that I am going out on Sunday. I'm heading west to an undisclosed location to hunt the Dogman again on a very large piece of property that is known for tons of Dogman activity and has been counted up to at least 20 people's deaths attributed to this possible creature out there. And we're going to spend a week in the woods, armed to the teeth, trying to hunt the Dogman, and we might be trying to open portals too while we're out there. So we're going to get a little crazy.
Awesome, man. Well, if you're ever looking for a new audience, I'm sure Bigfoot orgies, there's always an audience for everything. So, it's always something to consider if everything else fails. No.
It's probably already been taken. So.
Yeah, right on. So before we get into some of the spooky things that I want to discuss today, have you had any new insights into some of the phenomena that is surrounding Bigfoot encounters? We've discussed it before, like you said, portals, telepathic communication, these beings being able to cloak themselves, disappear and reappear at will. I've heard recent accounts where they show up in people's houses and move things around without even unlocking the door or opening a window. And it's also associated with other types of unexplained and seemingly metaphysical creatures that can be connected to this. Any new insights into the Bigfoot phenomena or even connections with Dogman?
Yeah, I haven't got my monthly subscription newsletter yet, so I'm not exactly sure if there's any updates as of this month. But no, I think that you pretty much hit it on the head on everything that's going on right now with the phenomenon. I think there's a big movement towards accepting the dumbed down version, the woo woo of these topics. I very much promote that mindset. I don't have a skin in the game in per se, so I've never seen these creatures, so I don't have a direct interaction with, hey, I saw it do this, so I know it's this kind of thing. I just come from the perspective of seeing a lot of people on the computer screen talking to me about their experiences, and I draw my own conclusions from those stories. And so I come from a perspective of these things might be one of many different origins. So it could be governmental experiments. I think if it is governmental experiments, they're doing it based off of things that already do exist that they know about. Also, could it be interdimensional? I would venture to say yes, absolutely. When it comes to these creatures, there is a real interdimensional aspect to be explored. And that upsets some people for sure when they come from the physical camp of things. But I would argue this. And again, I have no skin in the game I'm fine with anybody's conclusions. I don't get caught up in the drama of these topics and stuff. I just enjoy talking to people. But I would say this. If you are somebody who has been researching, whatever you want to call researching, whether it's reading stories on the internet, going out looking for Bigfoot, or, even me, like people call me a researcher. I'm not a researcher. I just talk to people about their stories. But if that's what you want to consider research, then fine. But if you've been doing this research, whatever it is, for 30 years, 20 years, 10 years, and let's keep it around the 20 to 30 years. And you are still, from the beginning, you say, I think this is a physical creature, and you're still at the physical creature aspect of things, I would say that you probably, at least unintentionally, are disregarding pieces of information because it doesn't fit in the paradigm that you have going into the topic. And you can say that interdimensionalism is ridiculous. And on the surface, it is. When you look at the world around you, what you've been told is real, the scientific nature of things, what reality is according to what we've been taught, interdimensional creatures coming through, it's just ridiculous. But when you start looking into the topic and you start looking into people's personal experiences and what they are claiming they have seen themselves, and then you look at certain evidences of seeing, trackways that seemingly just whatever made the track it vanished. It's just gone. You're following the trackway and then they're there and then they're not. Like there's things there that you have to start at least considering and thinking about. And I understand that some people do those things and they try to come up with a rational physical explanation. And at some point they wind up running themselves away from the topic instead of running themselves into whatever the information leads. And so I don't even know if this is where you wanted to go, but I'm just saying, I think that there is a real argument to be made that these creatures are interdimensional. I think that there's a possibility that they could be a remnant from biblical times. And I think that could be married into the interdimensional aspect of things, because I think at some point in my appearances on your show, I'm sure we talked about Nephilim, but like the idea of Nephilim, Nephilim are just not physical hybrid creatures that are half human, half angel. And that's what they are. But along with that, they will have certain capabilities that humans do not have, because their fathers are fallen angels. And so if they are a remnant of such activities thousands of years ago, then there's no doubt in my mind that they could access other realms. And I would argue that I have enough people telling me pieces of information about that direct thing that I would say, yeah, because I know that I have talked to people claiming to have interacted with Nephilim and angels in other realms. And so, take it for what it is. But there's just so many different aspects of these topics. So is there anything new? Probably not, but we could always talk about it forever. So,
well, I wanted to get your insights into the different experiences based on the approach that the individual or group takes whenever they're researching some of this stuff. If you're going out into the woods and you're packing and you have guns and you have this attitude where it's going to be dangerous, it seems like there's a lot of experiences that go where nothing happens, or maybe there is some aggression shown. Whereas I have the super woo-woo spiritual researchers who go out and claim that they have relationships with tribes of Bigfoot, and they have telepathic communications, and they enter these astral dimensions and hang out with the Bigfoot, and it's all a loving experience. Versus even if you're going out there with a scientific approach, you seem to get different results based on how you approach it, the level of reverence you approach it with, and your attitude and emotional state and things like that. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's definitely that angle of things. And I would say that we experience that with the Shape of Shadows. I mean, so typically when we go out to do these things, none of my guys, including myself, feel comfortable going armless. Like not like no arms, but with no guns on us. It's just our nature. It's how I am. If these things can be killed, at least on this side of the experience, I would go into it wanting to fire. Again, that makes people upset, right? But and I just said I was woo-woo. Apparently, woo-woo, you're not supposed to think that way. But I don't know if these things can be killed in the traditional sense. I've heard stories where you can. So that's where I come to this conclusion. Like, so when you're talking about seeing things that can disappear, that people say disappear, but then there's other people who say, I blew its face off. What do you make of that? Well, there's this argument to be made that if these things are interdimensional beings, when they're here, they might have no option but to adopt physical characteristics. And maybe the longer that they're in this realm, the more physical they become. Again, there's also the aspect of maybe when somebody blows its face off, they're not encountering the interdimensional kind, but rather maybe the designed kind that came out of a lab somewhere. That's what happened with a guy in Michigan. His name's Joe, and he was a tractor trailer driver. He still is. He one night pulled over on the side of the road. He had an issue with his air brakes or something, but he was on an incline. So his full load was getting ready to go up the hill. And as he gets back in his truck and he starts going, a full load of tractor trailer, I mean, let's just say it was 40,000 pounds. It very well could have been more than that, double that at least. But say it was 40,000 pounds and you're trying to get a truck that's stopped going uphill. You're going about 25 miles an hour. You're not going to be going fast until you get to the top of that hill and you can get some momentum going. In that process of climbing that hill, he looks in his mirrors like a good truck driver does. You're always scanning your mirrors. He sees something very large, bipedal, running up the side of the truck. And this thing was so large that when it came up to the window, it actually ducked down to look in at him. He had a handgun on the side of his seat. He pulls it out, shoots it, blows its face off. He turns his truck around to come back down the hill. His plan was to actually drive it over, like run it over. And when he got down there, there was another car there, and he pulled over and asked if everybody was okay. And they said, yeah, there was a bear here, and it was drug off by another bear. And he says, he's like, I know that wasn't a bear, but you know, it's what is that? So one of those things is the people that he interacted with. Is that something that was actually people who just came across a scene, or was that something where maybe it was a design thing and it had a tracker on it, and the people that he talked to were the people who were tracking it, and maybe he really kind of destroyed a very expensive weapon? You know, I just looked it up here. I think, yeah, this is what it is. The gun that he used to kill this thing was a Smith & Wesson Governor. It's a 45 long Colt. I believe that's what he used, if I'm not mistaken. So it had 410 shotgun shells in it and or 45 long Colt. Yeah. So I asked him, I just recently texted him that. That's why I pulled it up here. I said, what kind of gun did you shoot it with? And he said, Smith & Wesson Governor revolver chambered with 410 shotgun shells and or 45 long Colt, which means I think he had multiple different types of rounds in the revolver itself. I was loaded with 645 long Colt that day. There you go. 645 long Colt is what he shot it with. And he came and visited me here in Tennessee months ago, and he had the gun with him, and he pulled it out. This thing is a beast. And so, you know, I don't know. But he did say that he killed the thing. And so, or at least
these things are being tagged. That's crazy enough, but that does lead a few options. If they're being tagged, then they're being somehow tranquilized or caught somehow and being tagged, or they're being, like you said, being designed, and both options are quite insane.
So here's what's interesting is there's this pattern that I'm starting to recognize recently of government facilities having weird cryptid interactions around the facility. So I had a guy on my show. His name is James Shubsky, I think is how you pronounce his last name. He's in Washington State, and he has been breaking a lot of information about what I think he came up with the name of it. It's called the Klickitat Ape Cat. And it's people in Klickitat County, Washington are saying they're seeing this very large black cat with an ape looking face. And he kind of laughed it off until he owns an outdoor store. And one of his workers in his store, when they took somebody's encounter with this thing, she confirmed that she has seen the same thing. And that's when he started taking it serious, because he knew her and she was giving him information that he felt like, okay, well, I trust her. And so he starts looking into it. I think they have right now, over the last year and a half that he's been collecting stories, over 70 encounters with this thing of people talking about seeing this. And one of the theories is that it might have come from Hanford nuclear facility, because apparently when Hanford was up and operational, one of the things that was documented is that they brought in alligators to patrol the waters of the river that's next to the facility. And so they actually did some kind of I don't know if they actually did some kind of like manipulation to the alligators, but 12 of the I think it was 12 alligators actually got loose, and they didn't know where they were. And so they actually wound up having to hunt them down, and they got them all except for 2. Winter set in, and they thought that, okay, they're not going to survive the Washington state temperatures during the wintertime. But he suggested that maybe they did survive because they could have just hung out around the waters of the nuclear facility because it's so warm of the water coming out that they would survive. That entered into this conversation of, could the Klickitat ape cat be something that was designed to protect these types of facilities? I mean, he goes into great detail about it. It was just that episode's a couple weeks old. I don't remember exactly what episode number it was, but I think I called it The Secret Guardian of Hanford. But then there's also here in Tennessee, the old timers back when Oak Ridge was being built, which is the secret city. It's where they developed a nuclear bomb for World War II. When they were building that area, nobody knew it was being built. But during that time of construction, the old farmers in this area were saying that they were seeing a tall, white, Bigfoot creature running around here, which doesn't seem natural at all. And then we have in northern Pennsylvania, stretching across the entire state into East Ohio, this legend of a white Bigfoot. And we know that there's underground military bases in Pennsylvania. There's Raven Rock, which is not northern PA. It's actually southern PA. But many people suggest that there is at least one other deep underground military base in Pennsylvania. And we suggest that it might be in the Allegheny National Forest. It takes up at least 1/16 of the state of Pennsylvania. And then just today, I got an email from a guy talking about all this crazy stuff in North Pennsylvania, in Carbon County, Pennsylvania, which is where, if I'm not mistaken, the white Carbondale Bigfoot was filmed. So I'm not sure if Carbondale is in Carbon County, but I know Carbon County is northern PA, and he was talking about northeastern with certain cities, and I know that's where Carbondale is. And so we have this footage from, I think, 2007, 2008, the Carbondale white Bigfoot that is online. You can look it up and find it. But if there's a white Bigfoot in northern PA on video, I have this guy saying that there's a lot of interactions that he had with a lot of mysterious things in northern PA, and he directly referred to deep underground military bases, and he also was a former government contractor. There's a lot of threads to pull at here to suggest that maybe the government is at least designing, if not retaining, these creatures for their own purposes when they're trying to keep people away from facilities they don't want them near.
That is insane. It always makes me wonder how deep the rabbit hole goes when we're looking at what our military-industrial complex is capable of versus what we're might be confusing with natural paranormal phenomena, which actually could be some escaped creatures from this underground military facility.
Yeah. It's wild. I mean, and who knows, maybe it's not escaped. I mean, I've heard stories of them strategically releasing them at night to go hunt and then come back. They have trackers on them that actually call them back. That's something that's unverifiable. It's just rumor that I have heard. But, I think we're all, anybody listening to your show and my show, I think we're all well beyond the idea of, oh, does the government have that kind of technology? Of course the government has that kind of technology. That's not even a question. So it's a matter of, do these things exist and would they do such things? And if the answer is yes to the first thing, the second thing is an absolutely yes, they would do it then.
Well, let's continue our journey through creepy creatures. And I want to get to vampires. And I've heard you tell this story about I don't want to get too deep into it. I'll let you get to the highlights, because I know it's a long story. But if you could tell us the highlights of what this gentleman went through with this desert cult.
It's wild, man. It's wild. In fact, I just got a text message from him today because the member episode I released today has to do with him. I actually contacted an ex-satanic high wizard about this guy's story to see what's possible in the world of black magic. And, there's I asked him for his newsletter. I'm like, did you get the newsletter yet? Is there anything new and updated? I need to know some information. But so this guy, James, contacted me, and he had his story, and I'm going to try my best to summarize it. And me summarizing it is going to be me leaving out a lot of details. This is an over 3-hour conversation where there was no break. It was
Go listen to the episode, everyone.
Yeah. Episode 512, Desert Portal Death Cult is what it's called. Yeah. And it's just a constant barrage of information. So I'm going to do my best to summarize it. And if it doesn't make sense, just trust me, listen to the episode. It'll make more sense. And I promise you, it is at least the second most amazing episode I've ever put out. People argue that it might be number one above the Secret Military Knocking Technology one. So James contacts me, and he's in the movie industry. He used to be in Atlanta, and then he moved to LA to further his career. And this happened, I believe, in 2021 when he moved. He goes out there, and shortly after he's out there, he's out at a bar with his roommate, and they're drinking, having a good time. Say it's a Friday. I think it was a Friday night. His roommate goes to the bathroom, and while he's gone, this other guy comes up to the table and just starts talking with him, befriends him, and they just start hanging out. And then his roommate comes back. They're all talking. It gets late. They decide to leave, and this new friend of theirs, I believe his name is Mark or something. We'll just call him Mark for this story. He says, "Hey, there's this other place that I love going to. You guys want to come?" They're like, "Yeah, sure, we'll go." So it's late at night now. They run up to this new place, and immediately it seemed off. And his roommate, James's roommate, said, "Dude, I'm not going in there. There's like all these goth people walking in." He's like, "It's not my scene, man. Like, I am not going in there. I'm scared." And so he says, "I'm going home." And so James is like, "All right, man, I'll see you later. I'm gonna go in. I think these people, what harm could it do?" And so he goes in, and he talks about the inside and stuff and what he saw. And it was weird, but it's what you would expect with a goth community. Like if you're not used to it, you're not from it and stuff, you might be a little spooked out. The night goes on, it gets pretty late. Let's just say it was 3:00 in the morning now, 4:00 in the morning. They leave the bar, and this new guy, Mark, his new friend, just says, "I'll drive you home." And so they're heading home, and on the way, Mark gets a text message about a party in the desert in Joshua Tree. And so he goes to James, "Hey, I really want to go to this party out in the desert. You want to come?" And James is like, "Nah, man, I just want to go home. I'm tired." And long story short, Mark convinces James to agree to go out to Joshua Tree. So they drive hours out to Joshua Tree. They get out there early Saturday morning. The party's over for the night, but it's an entire weekend of a rave. And so they hang out during the day waiting for nighttime to come. When they get there, shortly after they get there, a guy in a Mad Hatter hat comes over and gives James a bracelet and says, "You're VIP." And that kind of strikes you as odd because James wasn't even planning on being there. He didn't buy tickets. Nobody knew James. And all of a sudden, James is VIP. And looking back on it, it's like they were marking James as somebody who's not part of the in crowd at this place. And so he goes through the day, and things kind of, it's a different kind of day, nothing too crazy, but it is what it is. James seems like the kind of guy who goes with the flow and likes experiencing life. He's very much not like me. I like living my life. I want to know what every hour holds. I want to have it all planned out. And he's just like, "Hey, let's just see what happens," And so he's going through his day. And at one point, he meets this one guy who is a really nice guy, and he's like, "Hey, man, here's an extra bed. This is your bed. You can sleep on it anytime you need to sleep. This is your spot right here. It's all yours." "Thanks, man." Nice guy. He runs into another girl, and she's kind of like upset and crying. And she's like, "I don't want to be here when nighttime comes." And he's like, why? What's nighttime? She's just like shaking back and forth, like, "I don't want to be here." He has no idea what happened to this girl, by the way. He looked her up after he got out of this situation. He did find her one point, but he can't remember what her Instagram was. But he goes through his day. That's odd. And what really kind of started shifting gears is in the afternoon, he needs to go to the bathroom, and there's a porta potty there. And he goes into the porta potty, and he takes a leak. He's not in there long. He comes back out, and he said, this is the first thing he noticed that was weird. He comes out of the porta potty, and he looks around, and there's an obvious change in amount of people in this area. Like, it's like all of a sudden there's a lot more people here. And he kind of thought that was really strange. And to be honest with you, as you hear the story, I did venture with the idea of calling the episode the Porta Potty Portal. But I thought it sounded great, but I didn't know if people would take it as serious as I needed them to take it. We go through this day, and nothing really crazy happens, but then the party starts. And he said that during the day, people were saying, "Oh, wait till the twins get here." And apparently, the twins were these really famous DJs. And I've had people looking up different DJs that were twins, trying to ask if these were the people. And I would send it to James, and he's never confirmed that any of the DJs that I have sent him were the twin DJs. And I'm like, how many twin DJs in the world can there be? So that right there tells me that maybe these twin DJs are more part of an underground, not mainstream network. Yeah. And when you hear about the story, you're like, yeah, probably. So nighttime comes, the party kicks off, and he goes into this big tent where the rave is happening. And he said, this is where things just really get weird for him. He starts seeing people who just look like vampires. They looked like they were demonically possessed. In fact, I think he even went as far as saying that he saw what he could only describe as demons around him. And he's like kind of freaking out a little bit, wondering if he's been slipped anything in his drink. He didn't think there was anything wrong with him as far as the physical nature goes. There's details that he shares in the episode that really pushed me in that direction of saying, I don't think this guy had any drugs in his system. I know he didn't take any drugs, and he doesn't believe that anybody slipped him anything. And if they did slip him anything, it would have had to be hours beforehand, and it would have to be a very delayed effect. So he starts looking around and starts seeing all these people. I mean, people with like, fangs for teeth. And, you can say that, hey, that's generated. Like that's fake teeth. People do weird things, rave, whatever, it could be just some kind of weird LARPing vampire cult in the desert. And so he's just kind of getting freaked out. And he asked the guy, Mark, who's there, he's like, are you seeing what I'm seeing? And the guy's just like, what? I can't hear you. Like, what? Like, just kind of playing dumb. And eventually it got to the point where he had to get out of there, and he leaves the tent.
Didn't he say that there were like children running at extremely fast speeds around him, like leaving tracers and stuff?
Yes. So my life is so weird that's minor to me. So, like the stories I hear, I'm like, yeah, of course, people running superhuman speed, like that happens all the time, right? Guys, right? Yeah. Every day. So he did say that. The first time I ever heard somebody doing the superhuman speed, I think I've talked about this story on your show, and I will be releasing the story soon. It's that whole interdimensional story with the guy going to other realms and stuff. I am very close to releasing that, and I'm very excited about that. And so he sees all that stuff. And thank you for and please feel free to jump in if I'm forgetting details, because I haven't even thought about this story in months right now. Right. I'm just recalling on the top of my head. So he leaves the tent. And he sees that guy that was really nice to him earlier, and he goes over, and the guy just pretty much didn't want anything to do with him. He's like, "Yo, man, I'm busy here. Just, and it's like, what do you mean busy? Like, we're at a party. Like what? We don't have jobs here. Like where are you punching in at?" And then his friend comes over with another guy, and he starts talking to his friend about what he saw. And they're like, "Hey man, you just need to sleep it off. You're tired, and you just need to go to sleep." And so they walked him over to this like truck or whatever. And he sees that there's like a bed inside, and they said, "Why don't you just go lay down?" And so he starts climbing inside, and then he realizes that if he gets inside and they close the door, it locks from the outside. And he felt very uncomfortable, and he didn't want to have to take the chance of somebody locking him in this place, because he was just, at this point, he was really rattled. He gets out of the truck, and he runs over to his friend, Mark, and this other guy. And he says, "Hey guys, wait up." And they're like, "Aren't you going to take a nap? Aren't you going to sleep?" And he's like, "No, I'm just, I'm not tired." And they just whispered in each other's ears kind of suspiciously. And then they just went back into the tent. And, at this point, I think maybe at this point is when he walked over to the guy that was really nice or whatever, but he's not in the tent, and he's facing the tent. And this is where like it got crazy. All of a sudden, the tent shoots up into the sky, and people start flying up into the sky, and a green portal opens up underneath the tent. And he's just like freaked out at this whole thing. His phone is glitching at this time as well. I think he said that he tried taking pictures of it at this moment. I don't remember. I know he took pictures throughout the weekend, because I know exactly where this happened based off of the coordinates of where his pictures were taken. I was able to pull that metadata off because I'm a sleuth like that. And, so know he had glitching with his phone during this time where his phone wasn't working, and it was really bizarre how it wasn't working. He kind of takes off running down this row of like RVs or something when this happens. And he comes across like people, I think it was like around a campfire or something, and they're just kind of like laughing at him. And the one person's like, "You have no idea what you're about to get into." And he's like, "What?" You know? And so he just kind of keeps running like the opposite direction. And he winds up running across these other people in these cloaks. And we assume they're people. Maybe they're not people, based off information I've gotten after this show aired from other people. Other people have had really similar and bizarre experiences in Joshua Tree, including cloaked people and cloaked people in other realms. That's a wild story. I can't even go too far into it because the guy that told me about it has pretty much ghosted me since I asked him to come on my show.
Oh, no.
But this guy, he actually sent me proof of his claims in the sense that because he sidetracked from the story I'm telling. This guy reached out and he said that he can confirm Joshua Tree is crazy because he went missing in Joshua Tree for like 3 or 4 days, and while he was gone in Joshua Tree, he feels like he slipped into another dimension because he was interacting with these shadow cloak figures in this other dimension. And then he sent me news articles, like videos on YouTube of local news in that area talking about him being missing. And then he reappeared, and they're like, "Where have you been?" And he's like, I don't know. And so like, and that's where, and I'm like, "Dude, you gotta come on the show." And he's like, crickets. Anyways, James encounters these cloaked people, and when he encounters them, they're standing around a burning pentagram in the ground, and they point at him, and he just starts taking off. They start chasing him, and as he's trying to run out of this whole party situation, he gets to like say the edge of the party or the property, whatever it is. It's not really a property; it's literally in the middle of the desert. But like the edge of this whole thing, he starts feeling like there's something that he's pushing through. He can't see it, but it's like he's physically trying to push through an invisible force that's almost there to retain him. And he just keeps pushing and pushing, and he's really not making much ground. And he said he doesn't know why he said this. He's not a religious person, but he started calling out to the name of Jesus, and it started slowly releasing him, allowing him to get through. As he's pushing through, these people or whatever they are chasing after him. And this is where people are like, this dude's definitely on something, which again, for me, the things that I've heard in my life, I don't think he was on things. If he was on something, it still doesn't negate the fact that I've heard things that are very similar to this. And maybe everybody's on something though. I don't know. So he says that as he's running through the desert, the ground breaks open in front of him, and like hands are coming out. And so like, that's the part that people are like, this guy's crazy. Like he's straight up on something. But this is where my memory is just really becoming foggy on it. But he basically gets through this whole situation. He does run through the desert, and he comes across a hospital where he goes into the ER room or a lobby of some sort, and his phone is completely dead. And so he's trying to find somebody with a cord to charge his phone so he can call for an Uber. They asked him, they're like, do you want us to call the police? And he's like, no, I just need to charge my phone. And so they gave him a cord. He charges his phone up. It turns on. Once he gets away from this area, it turns on. And he calls an Uber, which cost him like over $500 by the time he was able to get back to LA. And he gets out of the situation. The next day, though, he gets a phone call from the guy, Mark, who took him out there. And he didn't answer, but Mark left a voicemail, and Mark says, "Hey man, I didn't see where you went last night. And I was just, wondering if you're okay. Hopefully you got home okay." And Mark's done leaving the voicemail, but Mark doesn't hang up the phone. And you hear Mark set the phone down, and somebody says to Mark, "Do you think he's going to tell anybody?" And Mark's like, "No, I don't think he's going to tell anybody." And I told James, I was like, "Please tell me you still have that voicemail." And he can't find it. I'm like, "Oh, James, like that would be amazing." So I still hold out hope that somehow he could find that voicemail. But after the show aired and stuff, he sent me this person, the person that took him out there. He sent me the person's Instagram, and I've been able to look at the person's Instagram, and the person's Instagram is straight up like cultic, just very culty, lots of satanic symbolism, and so that story is it's a wild one. He does come across. I think it was off the property in his research, but some kind of like kitchen or diner that he was like maybe doing research on that has a lot of like vampire activity. That when he went on Reddit, he saw there was a lot of people talking about, like, there was questions like, hey, has anybody ever gone to whatever kitchen in Joshua Tree and seen vampires? It was that kind of thing. It turns out this area is very well known for cults. And I was told that by several people. After this episode aired, I was contacted by a soldier who is in charge. It works at, or at least he used to be on 29 Palms, which isn't far from Joshua Tree. And he was in charge of basically the bad apples in the military, guys who are getting kicked out of the military and they're just waiting for the paperwork to process. He was in charge of keeping an eye on those guys, but apparently those guys could go off base when they wanted to, because they were kind of in this like weird limbo spot where I guess, you're not a soldier technically, but technically you are. And so this one guy was living off base, and he was just a weird guy. And one day he asked my guest, which, by the way, the guy who contacted me, who's a soldier, his name was James as well. So we got two Jameses here, but Marine James, not the movie guy James, said that this weird guy asked him to take him out to a party in the desert of Joshua Tree. And this is where he said, I had to contact you because everything James was describing as far as the location goes, he has seen before, because this guy asked him to take him to a party in the desert. And he said, sure. He took him out to this party, and he said that he remembers it was on a weekend, and he rolls up to this like rave party thing in the desert of Joshua Tree, and he drops the guy off, and the guy said, hey, do you want to stay? And he's like, no, it's not my scene. And he just goes on his way. He had a lot more things to say about that guy. Apparently that guy one day didn't show up to base. So him and a bunch of other soldiers went to go pick him up. And when they arrived to where he lives, he was living with a bunch of younger people, and they were all calling him father, and he was calling them his children. Whoa. And so like I'm telling you, like, this area is just full of like cult, I guess. So there's this like real like cult aspect of it. There's been just numerous people contacted me about this stuff. And when it comes to the vampire aspect of things, you can go down the road of, oh, it's just a stupid cult and they pretend to be vampires. Sure, maybe. But there's also a real sect of people that are much more serious about their satanic path in life. And I have been told that they do try to transform their bodies into being vampires. I've been told that they reach certain levels within whatever this is, that it's like, I guess maybe a privilege. I don't know, that they have to choose between becoming a werewolf or a vampire. And the person I had talked to said that he chose vampire because he ran into a werewolf years before. And that person told him that to choose vampire because becoming a werewolf is the most painful thing you'll ever do in your life. And so he described to me as the process of becoming a vampire. And again, this could be people who are just crazy people trying to become vampires that just doing impossible things. Like it's not possible, right? But he said that what he did for months is he was, first of all, he was the high priest of a satanic church. And he had basically got his diet down to wafer crackers and human blood. And he would have women come over to his home and allow him to drink their blood. And so, they would go anywhere from allowing him to literally bite their neck to just more ritualistic purposes to suck on their neck, or cutting themselves and draining their blood to allow him to drink. But part of this ritual is that for, let's just say 3 months, all you do is eat these wafers and human blood. Very unhealthy, very unhealthy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I hear these things, And what do I do with it? I mean, I'm just a guy that I talk to people about their crazy experiences. And then throughout the last 7 years of doing this, I'm coming up on almost 600 episodes. I've talked to way more than 600 people. Like, you start piecing puzzles together.
Yeah.
And I'm at the point now where I no longer care a whole lot about how people view the information I have or how I think about things, because I'm so far down the rabbit hole on this stuff that it takes up too much energy to come back up to the surface of this rabbit hole and tell everybody, okay, this is where it all began. Now come with me step by step on how I got to where I'm at. What am I supposed to do? Do that for every group of people? Right. I'm not a tourist guide, like I'm just a guy that I'm on my own path and I'm on my own discovery here. So people who have been listening to the show for years and are like actual listeners, like, I mean, physically they're listening. They're not just having it on in the background. Those are people who tend to get it. They're jiving. They're flowing with me. We may not come to the same conclusions. We may not believe everything the same, but they understand generally how I'm getting to where I'm at, whether they believe it or not. It's the people who are just coming across me right now on your show who are going to be the ones who are like, this dude crazy. And I'm like, I promise you, I'm not crazy. I have been inundated with a lot of information over the last 7 years doing this stuff. And you can't help yourself but to start drawing conclusions, because like, I'd be no better than the people I was talking about earlier who started 20, 30 years ago researching Bigfoot and still refuse to acknowledge any interdimensional aspect to it, or at least give thought to the claims. Yeah. So like, I'd be no better than those people if I'm doing this for 7 years, over 600 people, well over 600 people I've talked to, and I'm still just saying, no, not possible. I can't, I'm not even going to go there. Like, I can't do that. I have to piece things together. I can't help myself. And so, I think that there's a real interdimensional aspect. I do think that people pursue vampire lifestyles, if that's what you want to call it. I think that there is a real aspect of the werewolf nature, and there's many different sources of where they come from. I think there could be. Go ahead.
Well, while we're in werewolf territory, and you just mentioned the sources of where they could come from, I've had a shaman that gave his insights into the skinwalker and how some of these beings might manifest. Now, you were talking about a ritual that physically transforms someone into a werewolf. This gentleman was talking about the native practices of wearing the pelt and projecting yourself as this animal spirit. And then there's another where he believes there is this metaphysical / physical interdimensional dog creature being. So apparently, based on many accounts, there is different types of dog-like beings out there. What do you think about that?
Yes to everything. Yes to everything. I agree 100%. So when we shot Expedition Dogman, Ward, my cameraman, who is like the theological person on our team, I mean, he really keeps us grounded. Like we all, my team didn't plan it this way, but we're all Christians. And so of all of us, Ward is the one that is the most theologically driven person. And we kind of run checks through Ward's like, hey, what do you think about this? Like, are we pushing a line we shouldn't be pushing if we're trying to open this portal? Like, just, be honest with me. But Ward is the one that brought it up for Expedition Dogman, how people will wear cloaks during rituals. And is it possible that people who are encountering Dogman or werewolves are not encountering anything of the sort, but rather coming underneath the spell of somebody who is projecting that image wearing a pelt because they're doing a ritual? And what you're perceiving is what they're projecting. I think that's a very real possibility, but you'd have to come to the foundational understanding that magic is real to begin with. If you can't even agree on that, then what I just said is an impossibility. But then there's the interdimensional aspect. So there's no doubt in my mind that there's an interdimensional aspect, whether it's somebody doing a ritual and they get so far in the ritual that now they're interdimensional, or if it's a whole other creature that walks on hind legs, canine, coming in and out of portals or dimensions. So there have been claims, witches in schools of mystery, people who are going to schools to be witches and learn witchcraft. I have been told by my friend Shane Cashman who works over at Timcast with Tim Pool, he sat down and interviewed a woman who was in such a school. And she said when they were learning how to open portals, they opened a portal and an upright walking dog came through. That's where the story ends. I'm like, what'd you do? Like, I said to Shane, like, dude, get me in touch with this lady. I got to talk to her. Like, what did you do? Did it come and just stand there and look at you? Did you have some kind of magical lasso to get it? Like, what are we talking about here? But then there's also the very real thing that happened. Let's just say 5 years ago. I really don't remember how long it was, but there was a guy on Facebook who went on his Facebook, made a Facebook post about how he just saw an upright walking dog out back.
Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah.
Like, the most amazing thing about this is the story behind it, because he had people commenting about it. So he's like, all right, suckers, I'll show you. And he goes on Facebook Live. This is not a pre-recorded video. This is Facebook Live. And within 3 minutes of this 30-minute Facebook Live that he did, he is out there and he's showing people where he saw this thing. And all of a sudden on video, you see this very large running canine on 2 legs go underneath like a street light, and it's translucent. So like, as soon as it's translucent, I'm like, bro, that's interdimensional. And then he reacts for the next 25 minutes about what he just saw with people live. Like, other people saw it live and they're commenting about what they saw, and he's reacting to what they're saying in the comments. It is probably one of the best pieces of evidence I've ever seen of Dogman, let alone interdimensional Dogman, because of the scenario around it. It's not a recorded video where, hey, I'm out in the woods, I took my phone out, hit record on my phone, and here I'm posting it now. This was all live on Facebook. It wasn't like it was an off-source thing. This was on Facebook Live. I don't know how you fake something like that. And then when you see the person that is doing the filming, unless he's acting, he does not strike me as a technologically savvy kind of guy. He just seems like a guy that just doesn't know tech at all. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know what you asked for me to go on that rant, but yeah, interdimensional Dogman for sure.
No, we're talking about the different types of werewolf creatures, whether it's you transforming yourself through ritual or projections, or these actual creatures coming through different dimensions. You talked about the cults, the different dark adepts that, based on whatever area they're practicing in and whatever types of magical practices that they are working with, is the possibilities of what they could be conjuring. I talked to Ryan Burns, our mutual friend, a little while back, about these cults in his area that are summoning things in Skinwalker Ranch. And man, that's a hell of a place to be doing stuff like that. But it seems like there are these different energetic areas around the country where they have more of a concentration of this cult-like activity, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it makes me wonder, I mean, is it that it's the area or the area that people believe in, So like, is it literally this area that they're like, let's just go and do these, practices and casting of spells and trying to, do all this stuff? Is it that they believe the area is prone for that kind of activity? Or is it that they, or how do I say it? It's like, is it that they believe that it's prone to that activity, or is it actually prone to that activity and they're doing it in response? Does that make sense? Like,
lots of places in the desert seem to have this special mystical occult aspect where secret societies, magical groups go out there and do their rituals and try to conjure entities.
Yeah, it's like, is it magical, or is it that they are making it magical? And can both be the same? I think that I would argue yes, because if you're making it magical, it is magical then. But is it actually a magical place that you're doing the magic in response to, or is it that you are charging the area with your magic because you believe that this is a great place for this kind of activity? And so I don't know, and there's arguments for both sides, and I'd be happy on both sides. I don't really care. It's like, it's just fascinating. But yeah, I mean, these desert areas are definitely. And I don't understand it in the sense that, like, when you think about, like, a lot of people talk about energies and things like that. Is there that much energy in the desert? I don't know. Like, I know the sun hits it hard, but like, I would think that, in the middle of a forest with tons of life and trees, like there's energy there. I have pictures of a portal, a green portal opening up in the forest of Kentucky. Like that's what I'm talking about. Like when you go to like the desert, there's nothing there. Like why is it so magical? And I don't understand it. I'm sure I know there's reasons for it. But I mean, then you even have like what is it, like Burning Man? I don't know much about Burning Man, but I know that the Joshua Tree Desert Portal Death Cult, that was like a Burning Man.
It does seem like there's more of a lot of these really darker death or blood cults that are utilizing the desert for these rituals.
There's at least a small percentage of people out there that they're not up to any good. Like that, what they want is nefarious means. I've talked to like this guy's not even part of a cult. Like I talked to a witch in British Columbia years ago. He's not part of a cult. He's not part of a coven. He is self-practicing on his own. And he told me that sometimes people just need to be smacked upside the head with this stuff. And he's happy to do so. So like he was studying to be a pastor, and he decided that he was going to study the occult to just learn about it so that he kind of understood the other side of things of what he's preaching on. Right. And in that process, he became so attracted to it that he became a witch. Wow. And he started this journey of witchcraft and trying to understand it, what works best for him. And he tried Wiccan. And when he tried Wiccan, that's when he's like, it's just too soft for me. Sometimes people need to get smacked hard, and I couldn't do it with Wiccan. And so he also said that he is a city bus driver, and he will practice his spells on people that ride his bus.
No.
Yeah. And so like when you talk about nefarious, like to me, that's nefarious. Yeah. Like I don't even think he would say that's not nefarious. I mean, dude, like you talk about consent, like nobody's consenting to this. And so, and to practice, you don't even know what you're doing to them. If you're practicing, it's not like you're totally sure. You're like, I think let me practice on this person over here before I really want to hurt this person over here. Oh, like I wanted to work on this side. So, yeah, there's definitely people that are nefarious about it, but I do think there's a large chunk of people, and just based off my own interactions with people, that I don't necessarily think that it's a good thing to be doing, but for them, the way they perceive it, they're just like, yeah, this is good. This is really, it feels great. And, I feel like I'm one with the universe when I do it, kind of thing.
Well, the last few minutes we have, what are your thoughts on the quote-unquote alien bodies that came out of Peru recently that were presented by the Mexican government that look like paper mache dolls?
Yeah, the sandcastles, right? That's what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I don't know. Like, listen, there's a lot of like bait and switch going on right now with these governments. And I think that they knew that World War III is right around the corner. And I think they were conditioning us for what we're about to see in world warfare. They're like, if you don't think we're going to see UFOs involved in World War III, you're crazy. Like, whether that's an illusion through Project Bluebeam or it's actual technology that they reverse engineered and they're planning on using it. I think that they've been disclosing this information in preparation of using it on a global scale. And so why not go with the narrative of aliens and all that stuff, whether aliens are real or not? Like, we're not going to argue that. Like, I go on both sides of it. I could say that aliens are interdimensional beings and they have much more demonic nature than anything. But then there's also the argument that they're from other galaxies. And I'm like, yeah, that's probably possible too. But the idea that the government in Mexico comes out and shows these things and wants us to take it serious, especially the person who brought it forward, Avi Loeb, I think it was, who brought it forward. I mean, I don't know much about the guy.
Well, they have, I think it was Jaime Maussan who actually brought out things. Yeah.
Yeah. Jaime. And so like I've heard things about Jaime as far as like, I think he's the one who also
he's done some shady stuff before.
Yeah, like the fairy fossil or whatever it was that came out like 5 years ago. Like he's like, this is an ancient alien fairy or whatever. I don't remember what it was, but it turned out to be completely pre-built and fake.
Yeah.
And so here's the thing. You don't think the Mexican government knows that? And yet they still brought in something that he was bringing to the table. let's just say he was being honest about the fairy or whatever that little creature was, and he was duped. How many times do you think he's going to have the opportunity to have groundbreaking discoveries like that to be presented on a global scale? Like, I haven't done one yet. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even have anybody coming to me saying they have bodies of anything. Yeah. And I'm a very large paranormal podcast that focuses on stories of such. And he coming out and he's like, you know, now I got alien bodies. And then the Mexican government takes that and they're like, yes, this is real. Let's put it out to the world.
Well, from what I heard, they will be rolling out a craft next. And I think it's going to come out of Mexico.
Of course, they're going to roll out a craft next. And listen, I think that there's a real possibility. In my office next door, I got 2 autographed hangings of Bob Lazar hanging on the wall. Like, I'm a Bob Lazar fan. I think that we have been reverse engineering technology. I think that we do have this stuff. And I do think that they're ready to rock with it in military actions. I think that what we've been seeing, let's just say that the pilots are completely innocent in this. And they're coming out and they're saying, yeah, I interacted with UFOs on a mission. We were doing test flights and all of a sudden this thing's there, right? Let's just say that's their story and it's true. That's fine. I think personally, this is just Tony speaking, I think what's been going on is that our government has been reverse engineering this stuff for a very long time. And throughout the time of reverse engineering, at times they will send it out and test it on our pilots to see how our pilots react to seeing this craft and how it maneuvers in the sky, so they can take that data and then understand it. So when they put it into real-time war scenario, they can predict how the enemy pilots will do the same exact thing. I think when we're talking about World War III right now, I think rolling out in the very near future, you're going to start seeing UFOs used in military actions. And I'm here for it all. Like, I have my popcorn ready. But it's gonna be very fascinating for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting times. Tony, I know you got to take off. Thank you so much for coming on today. Before you go, remind the audience where to find everything and how they can get all your films.
Yeah, first I want to say to everybody, I apologize. I can only give you an hour. I wish I could give you more. I just I was late to the studio today, and I have to pick up my son from school, so it's my fault. But if you want to check out all the stuff that I do, like I said, the podcast has started everything that I do. It's called The Confessionals. I interview people on their paranormal experiences, from abductions, Bigfoot, Dogman, you name it. We talk about it. And then that branched into Merkel Media, where we really right now focus on filmmaking. We go out to locations that have been featured on my show, and we spend around a week there investigating the environment around us and seeing what happens. And we're also coming out with a movie next year called The Sasquologist. And so if you want to see the 2 films we come out with and be tuned into future films, check in at merkel.media. That's where you can get all that information. And soon I will be posting either a phone number to text to have direct access to releases, or a newsletter. I'm undecided as to which angle I want to go to. I'm thinking I'm going to go with the phone number angle, because I don't know if you know this, but most newsletters have about a 15 to 20% open rate. If you have a 30% open rate on your newsletters, you're doing really well, and that's not good enough for me. When you have a text message community that has a 90+% open rate, you think about it. When you text somebody, especially even if you get a text message from somebody that you don't know, you don't recognize the number, you still open it to look at it. And so I think I want to have that more access. So soon there will be a number more than likely posted on merkel.media that you can text, and then you'll be registered to get updates from us when we have them. So excellent. Yeah, merkel.media.
Awesome. Tony, thank you so much. Have a great Halloween, and we will talk again soon. And until next time, everyone, have an excellent evening. We will talk again next week sometime. See you then.